at Spanish vocabulary, and one of the reasons why is because in our area, even though it's rural, we are seeing a growth in Spanish-speaking population, and it's important to be able to communicate with people in our communities. And what I wanted to start out talking to you all about is the alphabet, then I'm going to move into colors, and then the body parts. Now, with the alphabet, there are actually more letters in the Spanish alphabet than there are in the English alphabet. We will talk about those, and we'll talk about differences in vowel sounds and also differences in some of the consonant sounds. With the vowels, I'm going to show you the difference. For example, with the English language, when we see the letter A, we think of like cat, bat, car, that sort of thing. But in the Spanish language, the vowels sound different. The A makes an ah sound, like you're going to the doctor, ah. The E actually makes the A sound. The I is a long E sound, like, you know, eek, there's a mouse. O is a very short O. And then U is actually like ooh, like, you know, something that's gross or disgusting. So there's a difference between the vowel sounds in the Spanish language and the English language. There are also differences in some of the consonants that we have in our letters. For example, the C actually makes a K sound if it's before an A, O, or U, but if it's before an E or an I, it makes an S sound. D actually sounds like TH, like you're saying the, like for example the word verdad, which means right, you hear the TH sound. A G actually makes the hard G sound if it's in front of the A, O, or U, but it sounds like the English H if it's in front of an E or an I, like huh. The H in Spanish is silent. That's one thing that has always stuck with me from the time that I started taking Spanish classes, was our professor would beat into our heads that the H is silente, which means the H is silent. For words such as hola, which is actually spelled H-O-L-A, you don't hear the H, it's hola. The J actually makes the H sound. The letters K and W are foreign letters to the Spanish alphabet. They really don't have a place. The only time they're ever used is if they're borrowed from another language. For example, there's no Spanish word for like proper words such as a place like Burger King. So that would be one time in the Spanish vocabulary that you would hear the K sound, is when they borrowed it from the English language. The double L sound actually makes a Y sound, like pollo, as in chicken. It's spelled P-O-L-L-O, but it's pronounced pollo. The N with the tilde over it makes the NY sound, like the Mexican restaurant in town, Las Piñas. You hear the NY, it makes that noise. The double R, you actually trill those, so it's a longer sound. Anybody in here trill their R's? Very good. One reason why I remember the trilling of the R's is in my Spanish class, I love the word La Estación de Ferrocarril. And our professor really, you know, impressed us on it. Trill those R's, trill those R's. So the double R sound, you trill the R's, it's a little longer sound. The Q never occurs without a U in the Spanish vocabulary, and it makes a hard K sound, a cut, like que pasa, que hora es. The V actually makes a B sound, and the only time that a Z is used in the Spanish alphabet is like in front of a vowel. If you look at these differences, it doesn't seem like it's that difficult, but you'll find once we start applying these principles to different words that we're going to learn, such as the primary colors of the body parts, you'll get to practice, you know, pronouncing some of those. I'm going to erase your cheat sheets here and have you pronounce some of these vowel sounds. How would you pronounce the A? Ah. A. E. O. Very good. Okay. Now we'll start talking about some of the colors here. And I'm going to write the Spanish word, and based on what you just learned from the alphabet, how would you pronounce the Spanish word for red? Rojo. The J makes the H sound. How about blue? Azul. This one's a little trickier. Amarillo. That's right. The double L makes a Y sound. How about green? Verde. And white? Blanco. And black? Negro. Yes. Very good. So you remembered some of those. Okay. Now I'm going to erase the cheeks up here, and I'm going to show you some color swatches and have you tell me what they are in Spanish. Very.
Rojo.
Rojo. Very good. Yes. Azul. Very good. This is the tricky one again. Amarillo. Okay. Very good. Now we're going to move into the exercise with the body parts. And this gets a little more complicated because not only do we have differences in vowel sounds and differences in some of the consonant sounds, as you showed with the colors, you were able to pronounce those words using the appropriate sounds. In the Spanish language, words are also masculine or feminine. So what we're going to do is look at some of the body parts, and I have provided you all with a handout of the body parts, and we're also going to use the thin man up here as an example, but you'll find that words have a gender. They're either masculine or feminine in the Spanish language. And for example, the word for head, as you look on your paper, can anybody pronounce the word for head just reading it off your paper?
La cabeza.
La cabeza. Very good. And that is a feminine word. How about the word for hand? El mano. That's a masculine word. So that shows the differences between the genders. Now, that doesn't mean that every word that ends in A is going to be feminine, and every word that doesn't, is going to be masculine. There are some exceptions. Just like in the English language, we have exceptions like I before E except after C, and sometimes that's not even true. So things vary. If we look at the different body parts I have up there, if we look at the word hand, and you all already told me the word for that is el mano, if I was going to make that plural and I talked about my hands being masculine, it would become los manos. So you went from talking about the hand to the hand. So the L would change to los because you're talking about plural. If we are talking about more than, one head, if I said let's put our heads together, if you're talking about the head, it's la cabeza. But if you were talking about more than one, what would it be?
La cabeza.
La cabeza. Very good. So there is a lot to consider when thinking about speaking Spanish. There's not just differences in the alphabet, which is pretty basic, differences in vowel sounds, differences in consonant sounds, but there's lots of other rules that you have to follow, such as masculine words and feminine words and singular words and plural words. And for us speaking our language, it seems pretty common sense to us. We know our alphabet, we know what sounds the vowels and consonants make. So it makes pretty good sense to us to just speak the way we speak. The same for someone of a different language like the Spanish language. Spanish-speaking people look at their language the same way we do ours. So when they're learning our language, there's lots of rules that they have to, think about. For example, the QU in our language makes a qua sound, and their language is a cuh. It's a hard sound. So there's all these differences in translating, from one language to another. But like I said, with the growing population of Spanish-speaking people, even in a rural area such as our own, it's important to know some basic Spanish vocabulary. And perhaps, like for a different session, we could talk about things like greetings, and especially like with the body parts, there's an interest in Spanish for healthcare workers. We could talk about what's wrong with the body parts. Does this hurt? Does that hurt? Where's the pain? That sort of thing. So thank you all very much for participating.